G'day guys. A custom build of Rocknix was recently made available for R36S Clones. Unlike most other OS options for these clones, it is not based on the stock EmuELEC OS, but instead is an actual port of Rocknix. So today I thought we would go through the installation process and see how well it actually performs. Let's get into it. We're over on our Windows PC now. Just open up Google Chrome and gone to the Reddit page where this was originally posted. At the very top we have our download link, but if we scroll down, we can see Manster has gone to the effort of translating the original README, which was in Chinese. It mentions known issues, but also, more importantly, that you may need to change the boot.ini file to match your system if it doesn't work out of the box. We'll go back to the top and click on the Google Drive download link, and we just want to download the Rocknix zip file. Once that's finished downloading, we'll also need to download a tool which will let us write the image to our SD card. I like to use Rufus, so we'll go back to Google and type in Rufus, R-U-F-U-S. Click on the top link, rufus.ie, scroll down a little bit, and I like to download the portable version, which at the time of filming is 4.7p. I will place direct links to both the Reddit page, where you can download the OS, as well as rufus.ie, down in the description below. Once both files are finished downloading, we can close off Chrome and open up our downloads folder. Inside, you should have your zip file and Rufus. It is just a standard zip file, so pretty much any compression program should handle it, and most OSs do support plain zips out of the box. We just want to extract it. You can just right click on it, go to extract here. Once it's finished extracting, we want to insert our micro SD card we'll be writing it to into our cheap USB SD reader, and we'll just pop it into the computer. Make sure your SD card is either blank or there's nothing important on there, since you will lose all files when writing this image. It's also worth noting you do not need to format the SD card before writing the image. We're just going to double click on Rufus. At the top, under device, make sure your SD card is selected. Under boot selection, leave it as disk or ISO image, and to the right of that, click select. Navigate to your downloads folder where you extracted the Rocknix image, and double click on the Rocknix image itself. Leave everything else as default, and once you've triple checked you have the right SD card, click start. As mentioned, you will lose all data on the SD card. Click OK to continue. The image itself isn't very big, so it shouldn't take too long to write. Once it's finished writing, we can just close Rufus, click close. Now we want to go back to this PC just to confirm it did write, and we can see our Rocknix E drive. Open it up, and there's all our files. It's worth noting, no gains partition has been created so far, and instead it creates it during its first boot. Unlike ArcOS, which does have the EasyROMs partition included in the image, and it's instead expanded during its first boot. If you get a black screen when booting, let the system sit for around 5 or 10 minutes just to complete its initial setup before powering it off and putting the SD card back in your PC. And then you're going to want to open up the Rocknix partition, this one here, and either delete or rename boot.ini. So we'll just call it bootback.ini. And then you want to select one of the other boot files, for example, boot R36S Clone A, and rename that to boot.ini. So just renaming it, B-O-O-T, all lowercase, .ini. You would then safely eject the SD card, put it back into your R36S clone, and power it on again. If you still have a black screen, you would repeat the steps using a different boot file once again. So if A didn't work, you'd probably try clone B next, and if that still doesn't work, continue on trying all the different boot.ini files. If you still have a black screen, then unfortunately, your handheld currently isn't supported. With that said, the only boot file that worked for me was the stock one. So I'll rename all the files back to how they originally were. With that done, we can safely eject our SD card and put it back into our R36S clone. We've just put the SD card in the right-hand side slot in our clone, and we'll just power it on. You should get the Rocknix logo. It'll reset a few times. The initial setup may look like it's frozen, but you do just have to be patient. It does take around 1 or 2 minutes on this screen until it changes. Also, you aren't going to want to walk away during its initial setup like you would on ArcOS, since it does ask you if you want to set the system language to English or Chinese. You only get a few seconds to pick English, and if you miss it, it does default to Chinese. So this is the screen where it asks you if you want to select English or Chinese. I will let it default to Chinese, and then we'll go over how you can change it back to English once it's finished installing. So you can see you only got a few seconds, and we did miss it, which is fine. It's also worth noting the screen does go black for around 30 seconds, so don't panic, don't touch any power buttons, it is still booting. And we're finally on the main menu. So you can see it is all in Chinese at the bottom. Super easy to change, just press start. And we want to go all the way down to the second option from the bottom, the little cog icon, press A. Press down once to go to the second option, and just press left or right until you get to your selected language. So I'll do English US. Once you've selected that, you can just press B, and you will need to restart the emulation station. So we'll go down to the little door, exit sign, press A, go to the second option, and press A again. Press A once more to restart. We're back on the main screen again, and you can see all of our text is back into English. Now it's finished its initial setup, we can power it off, put the SD card back into our computer, and copy some games over. So just press start, go down to quit, and fast shutdown system. We're back on our Windows PC. I've put the SD card back in, and you can see we have a new partition called Games. Just open that up, and here's all our system folders. If for some reason you can't see the Games partition, just right click on the Start menu, open up Disk Management, scroll down in the bottom window until you find your SD card. Here it is here. You should see the Games partition. Just right click on it, go Change Drive Letter and Paths, click Add, click OK, and close off Disk Management. We'll copy our games over and pop it back into our R36S clone. We're back on our R36S clone now, and before we go any further, I'll mention a few of the issues I've had with this build. First of all, on my unit, I have no sound at all. My other major issue is my right joystick doesn't quite work right. Left and right works occasionally, but up and down is completely broken. It also seems my volume up and down buttons are mapped to up and down on the D-pad. There's also a few annoyances, like the fact it takes 30 seconds for a cold boot, and during this time, there is just a plain black screen, so you're not sure if it's still booting or if it's frozen. Also, out of the box, if you open up the music player app, there is currently no way to exit out. You can go into the config file on a computer and change the remapping, but on stock, you do have to reset the handheld. Let's take a look around. As mentioned, music player, I don't have sound on this anyway, so no point going into that one. Our 64 games showed up, DS showed up, PlayStation, PSP, ports showed up. I didn't put any Scum VM games in there, but that is enabled by default. There's tools, all games, favorites, last played, Dreamcast, and Java, which is J2ME games. That's very cool. We'll take a look at tools, and straight away, all of the file names are in Chinese. There is some English on some of them, like PPSSPP, I'm guessing that's the settings, port settings, Mel and DS settings, but everything else is just in Chinese. There's some subfolders, and I've accidentally opened a file manager. Quit out of that. I think we shouldn't need to use any of these tools, but it is just worth noting that they are all in Chinese. We'll start off with some J2ME emulation. We've got DoomRPG here. It was a great phone game back in the day. It did take around 10 to 15 seconds to load, and it was just a black screen again, but it does seem to work. And here we are in game. Everything does work as you'd expect. All the buttons are mapped correctly. A is the use button. Y is menu. X is map. Also, when you're picking up items or opening a door, there is some very slight lag. It's not major and it's not really game breaking, just something worth noting. To exit out of J2ME emulation, you just press the left joystick in. Next we'll try some Nintendo DS, Mario Kart DS, nice and easy. So you've got your standard bezel options, and L2 and R2 should swap the screen types over. So single screen, top or bottom, and the two layouts. So that's pretty good straight away. It does seem to be running very slightly slower than it should. I haven't played a lot of this recently, but it just doesn't seem like it's running at full speed. You can see the item counter on the top left was a little bit slow. Also, there's no interaction or no collision. There we go. So it's a bit buggy, it's not perfect, but it seems to be mostly playable. It's also worth noting, since up and down doesn't work on my right joystick, I don't have stylus support. I can move it left and right, but that's about it. Select an X should bring up the drastic options menu, and it does. Very similar to all the other OSs we've tried, very small writing. Nothing too special here. I was hoping to try some MS-DOS games, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be supported out of the box. There was no DOS folder on the games partition, so I created it myself. I put Duke Nukem 1 in there, but it just doesn't show up. Next we'll try Nintendo 64, just Mario Kart 64, nice and easy. Mario Kart 64 seems to work okay, using the stock core, but the joystick is mapped to the right joystick, which is a little bit annoying for me since, again, I don't have up and down. Obviously, you can change it in RetroArch settings, but out of the box, it is a bit unfortunate, especially if the game you want to play does primarily use the joystick instead of the D-pad. It is quite awkward to hold, as you can see. It does seem to be running pretty much full speed though. We'll try some PS1. We got Crash Bandicoot 2. It did take a little while to load, maybe 10-15 seconds again, so that is a little bit annoying. As long as you aren't changing games constantly, it's not a deal breaker. PS1 seems to work perfectly fine, apart from the initial slow load-in. Once you're in game, it does run full speed. At least Crash Bandicoot 2 does. Next we'll try some PSP. We got Mega Man Maverick Hunter X. It loaded very, very quickly, which is good. And it does seem to perform pretty much the same as it does on all the other OSs we've tried. There are the occasional lag spikes, as you can see, but it is still definitely playable. There's a lag spike there. L3 brings up the PPSSPP menu. I think now we'll try a few ports. I have copied 3 over from my legit R36S running ArcOS. We'll start with Super Mario War. We do get to the main title screen, which is good, and we can change the menus here. When we go start, it does go to a black screen and crash, and go back to the main menu. So Super Mario War doesn't quite work. We'll try Revolt GL, and unfortunately that doesn't even load. It goes to a black screen for about 10 seconds, then comes straight back to this menu. The last one we've got is Vanilla RA. This one does actually load. So we've got the main screen. There's no sound because there's no sound on the system. And it looks like the mouse is mapped to the right joystick, but since we only have left and right, not up and down, can't really use that. Select seems to be enter, so let's do select a whole bunch. I can't seem to skip the intro movie, and it did just quit out. So ports are partially working, at least for me. I will look into this a little bit further, and if I find anything interesting, or I manage to get any more working, I'll make a future video. I think lastly, we'll try some wireless adapters and USB tethering to see if we can get internet working on this little clone. All of my adapters are USB-A, so I'm just using a USB-C to USB-A adapter. And we'll start with this cheap little micro 802.11n USB adapter. This was about $1 from eBay back in the day. It's going to press start, go down to network settings. We'll go down to enable Wi-Fi, but we won't enable it yet. Instead, I'll plug the wireless adapter into the OTG port, which is the right-hand side one. And we'll enable Wi-Fi. There we go, did work. I'll go to SSID, and it did find my access point, which is really good. We'll select it, and I'll enter my Wi-Fi key. So with my SSID selected and my password entered, I'll just press B to go back, and it should enable Wi-Fi. Yep, Wi-Fi enabled, click OK. We'll go back into network settings, and we do have an IP address, and it does say connected. So it looks like internet does work on these little clones. I'll disable Wi-Fi, I'll unplug the adapter, and we'll try this TP-Link one. This was a legit one from Harvey Norman back in the day. It was quite expensive. Connect it to my adapter, plug it into the OTG port, and we'll enable Wi-Fi once more. The status light is blinking on my wireless adapter, so that's good. I'll go back to the main menu, give it a second, go back into network settings, and we are connected with a different IP, so that also works. It's worth noting, this MT7601 wireless adapter does not work on this clone, unfortunately. It does work on the real ones in ArcOS, but it still doesn't work here. It must just be an unsupported chipset. I think we'll disable Wi-Fi once more, and we'll try USB tethering. I've got my phone here with the hotspot and tethering options open. I'm just going to plug it in using a USB-C to USB-A cable with our USB-A to C adapter, essentially creating a USB-C to USB-C cable. Plug it in. Does buzz. We don't want to enable anything on that one. We'll go USB tethering. We'll go back to the main menu once more, go back into network settings, and we do have an IP again. So USB tethering also works on this build of Rocknix on our clone. That is really, really awesome. This is the first time I've had internet access on this clone at all. Overall, this is definitely a worthy competitor to the custom ArcOS build for clones. The main issues I had on my unit was the lack of sound and the right joystick only partially working. Ports are still hit or miss at this stage, and the lack of DOSBox was a bit disappointing. J2ME working out of the box was great, and DoomRPG was perfectly playable with some slight lag during certain events. Where Rocknix really shines on these clones is the added wireless adapter and USB tethering support. As mentioned, this is the first time I've been able to get my clone online. It is still very early days, so I'll definitely be keeping my eye on this one and seeing if they can iron out the bugs. If you end up trying this build yourself, please let me know down below if you do have the same issues that I've had with sound and joystick mapping. I think that'll do it for today. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.